I'm watching and waiting, my eyes wide open, I'm anticipating what the Lord's prepared in that heavenly place. Wonderful sights I'm longing to see. The Lord will be there just to welcome me, and when He calls, I'll be gone without a trace. Living on the edge of His soon returning, trusting in His promise. Soon I will believe in all His words, fulfilling like He said. Living on the edge where the living is easy, faith is getting stronger, nothing here to hold me. I can see the lights of home ahead.
We are live. Hi, my name is Donna Feazell, and I'm your host of Living on the Edge with Donna and Frankie. And Frankie, how is Frankie? Frankie, what happened? I'm at a loss of words. What happened, Frankie?
She is changing roles.
There you go. Well, there you go. I have with me Ronny King. This is my kid brother right here. I love to pick on him and just mess with him a little bit.
Kid brother is actually she's the kid. I'm older she is. So.
No, actually I'm 60. I'm older than you are.
Okay, I just look older.
I'm the only woman that you'll ever meet that wanted to be 60. Phil said, "What's this deal? You want to be 60?" And I said, "Discounts. I get discounts."
I got my AARP card the other day.
Then you're moving up more. Righty King. I'm going to have Frankie is over there. She's learning how to use the camera. So what is she going to, what's she doing?
I'm not sure what
is she
kind of...
going to another career and she's not telling us about it?
She may have us with, hats on her head and mustaches on her, I don't know.
Frankie, don't you dare do that. Well, this is a new year.
It is.
And a lot of us make resolutions, and mine usually last 24 hours. Always going to exercise, eat better, and all those kinds of good things. But it has been doing pretty good. A week now? So far, so good. Been exercising every day. Just, do me some thumbs up. So let's talk about this for a few minutes.
Okay.
So should we make resolutions?
It's a hard question to answer because resolutions are great and wonderful if you stick to them. But if you don't, then you feel defeated a lot of times. Mm-hmm. And so it can cause depression, I think, in some cases. I think resolutions are good. Goals are always great. We should always set goals.
What's the difference between resolutions and goals?
Not sure I'm qualified to answer that. I think a goal is something we're always achieving to strive. Mm-hmm. And a resolution is I'm resolved and resolute that I'm going to do this. Mm-hmm. It's a standard that I've made a decision and I'm going to be resolute in achieving this, whatever that is. And then when we don't do that, sometimes we feel a sense of failure and I didn't lose that 15 pounds that I said I was going to lose, and then you binge eat, you get 15 more.
It can. So what do we need to do? How do we get on the straight and narrow with this?
One of the things that I wanted to do tonight is in a Christian's life, any kind of goals that we set for our Christian walk and our Christian faith, I think we should always strive to have a closer walk with the Lord and have a better relationship with Him. And I was told the other day, when Frank and I travel and the group travels and we go from church to church, one of the things that we promote is a relationship with Christ more so than any kind of a doctrine, theological doctrine or anything like that. We feel like that if you have a relationship with Christ, then He'll work that out. Mm-hmm. You and He can work that out.
So it's more like a personal thing.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
So is there a one shot does all, or one fit does all, or is it individual?
Jesus is a fit all. He died for everybody on the earth, and His blood can cover any sin that anybody and everybody's ever committed. So that's the fit all. But the relationship aspect of it, the Bible tells us to work out our own salvation with fear and trembling. There's things in the faith that we have to make our own choices about, and that's some of the things I want to talk about today. But in the relationship aspect of it, I was told the other day that we live in a society now that we really don't truly understand how to have a true relationship. We have families tearing apart and marriages tearing apart, and that because we don't honestly know how to have a good relationship anymore. And
well,
so
because everything is so instant these days, instant potatoes, instant everything, and so we're so used to working everything on it. We want the shortcuts to everything. So is that messing up relationships?
For me personally, I think it's more, instead of instant, I think it's the disposable aspect. If you think about it, everything's disposable. Your TV tears up, you chunk it and go buy another one. Your computer, your printer, lose ink. It's almost cheaper to go buy a new printer than it is replace the ink cartridge. So it's a disposable kind of lifestyle, or replacement kind of lifestyle that we live instead of a fix it. And relationships are more in we've got a mentality of we got to fix this, not get rid of it and get something else. Does that make sense?
It does.
So some of the things that I think in order to have a good relationship with Christ, and one of the things that was brought to me years ago is that I want to talk about tonight is, what are we listening to? In order to have a strong relationship with Christ, the Bible tells us in Hebrews, it says, therefore, seeing we are compassed, this is Hebrews chapter 11, verse 12. It says, wherefore, seeing we are also compassed about with so great a cloud of witness, let us lay aside every weight and sin which doth easily beset us, and let us run with patience this race that is set before us.
It's almost like we're running with a ton of bricks.
Exactly. And if you go back and read the entire chapter of the 11th chapter of Hebrews, I call it the faith chapter because it talks about all of the patriarchs and of the Christian faith that strove for did all these things without the promise, without seeing the promise. I've got the Bible turned over here. It talks, and I've got the Bible, but I don't have my glasses on. So it talks about. It gives the definition of faith in the very first verse of it. It says, now faith is the substance of things hoped for with no evidence. And it goes on to say that that through faith that the worlds were framed by the word of God. It goes on to say in the 4th chapter about Abel gave a more excellent sacrifice than Cain through faith. It goes on down through Enoch was translated, did not see death because of his faith. Noah built the ship or the boat, the ark, by faith. It never rained on the world. Never rained.
Imagine that.
And he went out and built a boat to take care of all the animals.
Let's think about that just for a minute. This one I have. It's never rained before.
Never rained.
And you're trying to sell people on the idea of an ark.
Yeah.
And they're looking at you like, what are you talking about?
First Carnival
Rain?
cruise.
The Titanic.
That's right. No, it didn't sink. It didn't sink. But then you got also Abraham. He and Sarah was well and stricken in age, 100 years old, and Sarah was 90, and they had a child at that age. So faith is the substance of things hoped for when there's no evidence of it. That's like saying, come sit down in a chair when there's no chair sitting there. So it kind of puts it in perspective. So, and the Bible tells us that we can't even please God without faith. We can't even please Him. So, if we're going to through the faith, if we're going to lay aside all these weights that so easily beset us, we got to identify what the weights are. And that is not laid out in Scripture black and white. It is, I think the weights aspect are different for everybody. And this is one I want to talk about tonight that's mine. That's my weight that was shown to me. In the Scripture, the 12th verse, when it says, let us lay aside every weight, and sin. There's a difference. A weight is not necessarily a sin. So a weight, I can't say that it's sinful to have a weight. It's just a heaviness. So you look at the attributes of a weight, they're heavy. And everybody knows about going to the gym and pumping some iron and everything, and I would do that, but the only problem is the things are heavy. I don't want to lift them. So,
and you get sore afterwards.
That's right.
If you do too many at the same time. So to some of us, could a weight be this? Could it be that God has forgiven us for something we have done, that we've sinned for, but we keep holding on to it because we haven't forgiven ourselves? Could that be a possibility of a weight? Because we drag a lot. God's already said, "Look, I've forgiven you." You just keep on reminding your own self.
Right. One thing that we've got to remember when we're talking about God's forgiveness, when God forgives us of something, the Bible says that He cast it in the sea of forgetfulness. So when we go to God again and say, "God, you know when I done such and such," and He said, "No, I really don't. I don't remember that." And so you're empowering basically Satan to hold you back when God has already delivered you from it. So I guess in a sense it could be a weight that keeps us bound, keeps us, and it could be too that we don't truly realize God's saving grace and God's grace to eradicate those things, out of our life. So that's that you got that. That argument or debate to comment and debate about. Now, a weight, we talk about the weights at the gym, but I know you love to fish.
Oh, yeah. Put those weights in there.
See? You put those weights on the end of the line so that it drops your bait down in the water so you catch those fish.
Otherwise, I couldn't.
Right. So, that weight doesn't weigh as much as what you would, pump iron at the gym. But it's still a weight. And that's the difference between in a Christian's life. We've got to identify those weights that don't hinder us. They may not foster a deeper relationship with Christ, but they don't hinder a relationship with Christ. I used to be a youth director at a church in Birmingham, and I did a service on weights, laying aside weights. And I took one of those 50-pound dumbbells, and brought it to church. And we were going through some of the... I can see him
walking through 50-pound weight.
I had it sitting up in the front of the church, and I got one of the members to take the weight and to just flex it and work with it and everything. And it was one of the ladies. She grabbed it and she struggled with it, but she was able to carry it. But she struggled with it. And then I got a football player, one of the teenagers that played football, and he just grabbed it up, and he was just no big deal to him. He's just walking through with it, just like it was a piece of paper. And then the pastor's wife, the football player took it to the back of the church and set it down, and I got the pastor's wife to go get it. She got back there, she couldn't pick it up off the floor. At all. And I said, you got to get it back up here. Whatever you got to do, you got to get that back up here. And she had to get down and roll that weight all the way to the front of the church. And I pointed out, I said, if this was the weight here, I said, this weight, it's the same weight. It's the same weight that she struggled with. It didn't hinder him, but she couldn't deal with it. So that's the weights that I'm talking about in the Christian life. And it's about spiritual maturity to identify what these are and to let them go.
Well, can some of it just be a habit?
Sure.
Like you just, used to getting in the car and whatever radio station is playing, you jamming as you go down the road.
That's right.
Habit. Not even paying any attention.
That's right. Now, one of the weights that, for me, that I shed several years ago was due to an evangelist that came to our church and had a revival. And in his message, he identified music as could be a weight. Now that sounds, that sounds kind of funny coming from, a singer and a musician. But
I'm not talking about your music.
I hope our music is not a weight.
It's awesome.
But he challenged the young people. Now back then, I was an avid country and western. there was Crystal Gale and Charlie Pride. All those artists back then, some of the younger kids that's listening, y'all wouldn't know who these are. But, the group Alabama. I used to listen to them all the time. And
their
Don,
songs could be a little suggestive.
Yeah, Don Williams, love Don Williams. Don Williams was cool. Y'all need to look. Well, never mind.
No, he's trying to get you not to look at it.
Yeah. But I was an avid country and western listener, and the evangelist challenged the young people. I want you to do without it for 1 week. Listen to nothing but gospel music. Don't matter what genre of gospel music, whether it be praise and worship or country gospel, bluegrass gospel, southern gospel, just gospel music. Said, listen to nothing but gospel music for an entire week. And at the end of the week, stop and look at how your week has went.
So how long did you last?
I went a week. I went the whole week. I was determined that I was doing it literally to prove him wrong. Because I think this is not affecting me. I know it ain't no sense in it, but I'm going to do it to prove him wrong. So I went a week without the country and western music and played nothing but gospel. That was such a peaceful week.
How so?
No major problems, no hiccups. I was in a good mood all week long. I wasn't aggravated.
Some sad country songs.
Yeah, so the end of
Tammy Wynette. Sorry.
That's right.
Fans out there.
So the end of the week, the following week, I was like, hot dog, and go back to my country music. And I flipped the station back over to country western music. And my week just took a nosedive. Just my attitude, things that didn't bother me last week are now bothering me this week. A person's voice tone just making me drop, and just poor attitude.
Because of the music? Because of a song?
But I don't know. I didn't know at the time. And I thought, what is going on? And it was kind of like the Holy Spirit was saying, what are you listening to? And my ear tuned into the radio, and it was, I don't even know what song it was that time, but I thought, is that really it? And so I tested again. And I flipped it back over on gospel and listened to gospel for another week. My week was just as smooth. My attitude was better. And I thought, okay, I'm good. I can go back to country now. Everything's kind of, trimmed out. I'm good.
Things neutral.
It's neutral. So I went back to country music for the second time. My week took a nosedive again. I mean, just felt awful, just in a bad mood. And again, I thought, what is going on? And my ear tuned into the radio, and the song, and this I remember, the song was that I've Got Friends in Low Places.
Oh, yeah.
Was playing on the radio.
I can see where that
was. And it dawned on me that day in the car, I said, I don't have friends in low places. All my friends, I'm a child of God. And I don't have friends in low places. Why am I listening to a song about friends in low places?
That'd make you go find friends. That's how we hooked up. No.
So from then on, I stopped listening to secular music, and I just strictly listen to gospel music now when the radio's playing. I will admit, I must confess, I'm not going that Frankie and I. It wasn't long after we married that we were flipping channels on TV, and we ran across the Eagles farewell tour, and we listened to the Eagles farewell tour. And
yes, that's going to be. All right, I'm going to take your challenge.
But
no more Elvis for a week.
Yeah, well, that's it. Well,
he sings "How Great Thou Art."
Sure. And let me bracket this a little bit. Not every secular song is bad. Okay, Sweet Home Alabama. I don't see anything wrong with that song. There's nothing wrong with entertainment. Okay, this is about spiritual maturity and identifying those things that doesn't foster that Christian relationship with the Lord. And there are songs out there that are good songs that speak of a love between the husband and the wife that is perfectly fine.
Love songs?
It doesn't go
date night.
Yeah, it doesn't go outside the boundaries of marriage, and that's perfectly fine. It's the songs that become suggestive outside the bonds of marriage that I have trouble with that get outside of God's word. But like on some of the stations, you're turning it on, and that song's bad when we turn it down.
town. Go to another.
And somebody said one time, told me one time, said, well, why not just turn the bad songs off? And if you're listening to country western, if it's bad, just turn it off.
But you got to listen to a line or two of the.
Yeah.
Of
Well,
it comes
here's what happened. Here's what happens. We get a good song on the radio, or a song that's not bad, and we listen to it, and we're sitting in a recliner maybe, and it's playing on the radio, and the next song is bad. So maybe we get up and go turn it, but then we turn it back and we find a good song and we go sit down, and the next song's a bad song.
I'm too lazy to get up and turn it off again.
And we stop turning it off, and before you know it, we're back.
We're back to those.
We're back listening to all of it. Yeah, back. It's kind of like the old argument of I'm quitting smoking. I've quit 3 times. so you didn't quit. You just paused.
Get it. I totally get it. Do you think that there are just subliminal type messages in songs?
No. Now it's just blatant, in your face. They don't care.
So the Stairway to Heaven and all that, play it backward and all this stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure there's probably some out there, but I've done some research. The other night I pulled up on the internet just some top 10 songs, and I got some here that I wanted to just read the lyrics. Now, let me say this: music of itself is not bad. Okay, it's the lyrics that gives us the problems. Music is not music. I don't think can be good or bad. It's just music. I think it's the lyrics that makes a song good or bad. Okay, so let me see if I can find some words here of some songs that country and western songs. Back in our day, they weren't. The subject matter was not as bad as it is now.
Country music has changed anyway, though. It's a little more.
It has
rap.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of the country music now is almost pop, pop sounding. But one of the top songs out there right now on the country charts is Tennessee Whiskey.
Well, see, I agree with you on that.
Yeah. Some of the lyrics is, I used to spend my nights out in a bar room. Liquor was the only love I've known. But you rescued me from reaching for the bottom and brought me back from being too far gone. You're as smooth as Tennessee whiskey. You're as sweet as strawberry wine. So in this song, the writer is comparing their girlfriend as whiskey or wine, and
I take offense to that.
And we have to. And for me, do I really want like my teenagers and my kids listening to a song that's almost glorifying whiskey and wine and
which can
liquor?
Totally ruin your life.
Absolutely, absolutely. Become an alcoholic, and they romanticize it. And this particular song mentions liquor in some form 17 times.
Ooh, that many times.
In this one song.
Well, you're hearing it over and over again.
Right.
Yeah, you and I have both been in the sales world before, and we've heard that if you hear the same story 7 times, you're going to start believing it.
Yeah.
And so that's what the song is doing.
That's what this song is doing. It's just
it's going through your mind,
yeah,
just in and out, in and out, in and out.
And so for the person out there that does have a problem with alcohol, and they're driving down the road and they're listening to them, now they've got a craving and they're going to pull into a store and they're going to get some. And it's going to cause, I think, that subliminal message in our mind is going to, it can push people into drinking.
Let me hear one Hershey's commercial. I'm stopping at Walmart and I'm getting some chocolate. You know?
For me, it's coffee.
Same here.
So that's country, and what this what that song is glorifying is whiskey.
Yeah.
And comparing their girlfriend to whiskey, I'm afraid my wife wouldn't.
Come on, Phil.
Let me see if I can find another one here. I've got. Let's see.
While you're looking, my grandmother always said, "Be careful what goes in that mind of yours."
That's right.
What goes in one ear because it'll settle in there. So always just, fill yourself with good things.
The Bible, it tells us, it gives us an example to take every thought captive. If I could only do that, if I could master that ability, if we could all master that ability, because Satan can't attack the heart, he has to go for the mind. And it's the mind that ponders the thoughts that Satan puts in our mind, and then when we ponder it long enough and we let it get to the heart, is when it becomes a problem. But if we can take that thought captive and say, no, that's not of God, get out, then I think we would do far better in our Christian
Makes
walk.
a lot of sense. I'm glad you're bringing this out.
And we have a.
Would you welcome all of the viewers? They asked that you would share who all is watching.
Hey, I sure will. Let's go ahead and do it. Hey,
Yeah.
Patricia Hawkins. Hey, Patricia, thank you so
Hey,
much for
Patricia.
watching. And Brenda Holiday, thank you so much for watching, Brenda. We appreciate it. Gerald Bowman. Hey, Gerald, it's good to see you again. Thank you again so much for watching. And I'm waving back at you, too, by the way. You're waving. I'm waving back. Hey, Alton Greason, it's good seeing you. Thank you so much for watching. And Scott Lloyd. Hey, Scott, thanks for watching. How are things in Cherokee County over there? And Robert, thank you so much for watching. LaRue Hardinger, girl, thank you for watching. We sure do appreciate that. She does a lot of work for the Toys for Tots Foundation.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Shirley Powell. Hey, Shirley, it's good seeing you. And also Lisa Blake. Hey, girl, good seeing you, Lisa. Jasper McConnell, it's good seeing you. Thank you for watching. Randy Harrell. Hey, Randy, thank you for watching, Randy. Rod Hall, thank you for watching. And Jimmy Treat just joined us.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for watching, Jimmy. Tarina Renison, good seeing you. David Tyner, it's good seeing you. Thank you so much for watching. And Donna Conroy. Thank you, Donna. And also, like that name, Donna, sometimes.
That's right.
Jackie Fortner, it's good seeing you. And also, Doris Bevel, good seeing you, Doris. Thank you for watching.
Hey, Doris.
Chris's mom.
Yeah.
Oh, is that right? And Laura Townsend, it's good seeing you. Guy Goodell, it's good seeing you. And Sean Barker, good seeing you, Sean. Thank you so much for watching. Shonda, it's good seeing you.
Shonda is a real good friend of mine. She's a young lady.
Hey,
That's
Shonda.
nice. Hey, Shonda, it's good seeing you. Tuttle, it's good seeing you. And Evangelist Sam Davis is watching us right now.
Hey,
Thank you so
Brother Sam.
much. And Leanne Reagan Wilbur, good seeing you. Thank you
Hey,
for
Leanne.
watching. And Rhonda Collins, thank you for watching. Deb Beasley, hey Deb, good seeing you. And Terry Underwood just joined us.
Hey, Terry.
Hey, you missed out on some good stuff, so do a rewind, okay, and watch it a little bit later. And share this if you don't mind, we would appreciate that. And Eddie Hunt, thank you, Eddie, for watching the show. And also Jeffrey McWaters, thank you for watching. We've got a lot of good listeners here.
Yeah.
Hazel Oaks, it's good seeing you, Hazel.
Hey,
my
yo,
cousin.
that's Cuz. Hey, Cuz.
Hey, cuz. It's good seeing you. Dave Doyle, it's good seeing you, Dave. And Bob Shields, it's good seeing you, Bob. No, guys, yeah, I was second for us. I'm glad. B.T. Thomas, I thought it was B.J. Thomas. Hey, B.T. Thomas.
BT.
Thank you so much for watching. Jack Hornsey, it's good seeing you. And Paul Height, related.
Hey, Paul.
Hi. It's good seeing you. And Dave Covington, it's good seeing you, Dave. Thanks for watching. And David Covington and Chris Barkley, good seeing you. Don Harris and Shonda just joined right back in again. And so Frankie says, thank you so much for watching. Thanks, guys. If
Thank
you don't
y'all.
mind, share the show. We would definitely appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, Frankie, you do look a little different. I think we need to get the other Frankie back on here.
Yeah.
She's a little prettier than
I
you
didn't.
are.
I don't doubt that. No, I'm not arguing that point at all. I didn't know she.
Butch Tanner and Carol Tidwell.
Hey, Butch
Hey,
and
Butch,
Carol.
good seeing you.
Butch, they got me on tonight.
Gerald Fawcett is a real good friend.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching.
Absolutely.
We
And
appreciate
there's
it.
lots more. We'll try to get to you before the end.
Yeah, we won't get to you, okay? So we definitely appreciate it. I know you could be doing anything else right now, but you're watching us.
Absolutely.
Can you believe that? Boy,
No.
they need some help.
Y'all ain't got nothing better to do. No. Thank y'all for watching.
No, thanks. We do
Absolutely.
appreciate it. So what goes in the mind can really ruin the whole. It could ruin our relationship.
Well,
God.
maybe not
Careful.
ruin it. Maybe not ruin it, but taint it pretty bad.
Yeah.
You know, it's all about spiritual maturity. And for me, when I stopped listening to country music and secular music per se, when I stopped listening to secular music, it was because I wanted a deeper relationship with the Lord more than I wanted the music. And that's what it was for me. And again, I can't sit here and say that listening to secular music is a sin. Some of the content of the songs promote sin. But there's nothing scripturally that says you can't listen to secular music. There's nothing that just completely just redlines it and says, but there are scriptures that talks about it enough that we can have a spiritual maturity to say, I'm going to do without that because I want a deeper relationship with Christ.
Well, Ronny, we're about halfway through the show. Got Ronny King with me right now, living on the edge with Donna and Frankie, and Phil over there too.
Yeah.
I'm having fun.
Yeah.
Looks like she is. So let's talk a little bit about kids. Why can't you can't guard a kid for? I mean, they have all this stuff. I mean, we have iPads, iPhones.
Mm-hmm.
How can you be a step ahead of them? Because kids are born knowing how to use an iPad.
Right. And a lot of times, parents. I'm not a parent. Frank and I, we're not blessed with kids. We've got kids, but they all have fur. Cats. But I know you can't keep a child under thumb all the time.
You gotta breathe.
They got to breathe a little bit. So my suggestion would be teach them by example.
Best way.
Yeah, teach them by example. And explain to them, no, I don't want to listen to that because it doesn't promote what a Christian life promotes. Mm-hmm. And that's where we've got to get to, is what glorifies God in our life. Mm-hmm. And we should be of the mindset that we don't glorify God just on Sundays. But we glorify God every day of our life.
That's what some kids see. I mean, you see the parents are one way on Sunday and a different way throughout the week.
That's right.
So it's kind of confusing there.
It is confusing.
For your kids, they're just like, well, which way am I supposed to be?
Absolutely.
The way you are through the week or the way you are on Sunday?
Right. And for a parent, let me share with y'all words of a song that I ran across that is, it's in the top 10 songs of the pop chart. Okay. No Guidance is the title of the song.
No guidance.
No Guidance. The first chorus and it starts out, before I die, I'm trying F you.
Oh my goodness.
Baby, hopefully we don't have no babies. I don't even want to go back home. Hopefully I don't leave you on your own. Hey.
Parents, you better know what your kids are listening to.
Then it goes on to, it's a trip that you plan for the next whole week. Bar's too long for a N-word. Mm-hmm. Speaking of a black person, N-word, so cheap. And your flex OD and your sex OD. You got it, girl. You got it. Hey, you got it, girl. You got it. You got it. Hey. That's literally
they're saying it. I'm sure that it is on the song. How many young people are watching right now going, that ain't the way it goes?
I know exactly. Yeah. But I'm doing it on purpose to kind of make light of it because of the vulgarity in these songs that parents have no idea about because they're not paying attention.
They're not listening.
They're not listening to what their children are listening to.
Parents, it's okay to be a bad guy.
That's right. You're not supposed to be their best friend. You're supposed to be their parent. Mm-hmm. And the vulgarity that's in some of these songs, and you wonder why your child is being
they're weirding out.
Yeah, they're weirding out, and they're being
disrespectful.
Disrespectful.
I see a lot of that.
Hostile.
Uh-huh.
They're becoming hostile because of some of the lyrics in these songs.
If they can't get away on stuff,
That's right.
will fit and what have you.
That's right. And then some of the words they're picking up in these songs that they're using at school, and you're not knowing about it, things like that. and we wonder what has happened to a generation, to our kids.
Well, it's because we're not on top of things. It's that simple.
That's just one of them. There's another one here. Truth Hurts by Lizzo. Bless her heart. Y'all pray for Lizzo.
Sounds like the name's enough.
Why men great till they gotta be great? Woo. I just took a DNA test. Turns out I'm 100% that B.
Parents, you got to listen. I'm begging you.
Yeah.
I'm begging.
Even when I'm crying crazy, yeah, I got a boy problem. That's the human in me. Bling, bling. Then I solve them. That's the goddess in me.
See, I had no idea this because I don't have a kid. My kid's 40 years old.
Yeah.
So, but it's what goes in your mind. It can be television too, because just because something's a cartoon,
Yeah,
doesn't mean it's safe. You remember The Simpsons?
Oh, yeah.
When The Simpsons came on. Well, Brad wanted to watch The Simpsons, but I was a mean mother. Bad. And I said, I want to watch it first because I've heard a few things about the show.
Yeah.
So I watched it first, and I said, no, because I've always been this. I think God made it this way. This is why the family is supposed to be structured. The man is the head of the. And I'm a woman saying this, and I'm cool with saying it. The man should be the head, and then there's the mom, then the kids.
right.
But this show was putting the kids over the parents. It's like the parents were so stupid, but the kids were so much smarter than the parents. And I wasn't going to put up with it. And I said, no, you're not going to watch it.
If you notice, a lot of commercials on TV make the dad the
dumb.
buffoon.
Especially if he's white.
Yeah, and the mom of the commercial or the show is, the one with the head on straight, and it just goes completely against God's layout of what the family structure is. The words in these songs that I have found does the same thing. It brings about hostility, to kids. I think it fosters that. It also fosters corrupt communication, things like that. And a lot of the songs that's out there now, they don't even have a medley to it. It's all beat. It's a beat. There's no medley to it. You can't sit down to the piano just like you would just pick out the notes to Amazing Grace or Mary Had a Little Lamb. You could play those notes and somebody say, "Oh, that's Mary Had a Little Lamb."
It's putting them in a trance.
Yeah,
basically.
It's more of a beat than it is music. And so they use that, and I'm telling you, some of the words on these songs are just, I'm like, really? What happened to the FAA?
Well,
I mean,
I was about to say, what happened to the 7 words you're not supposed to say
FCC.
on the radio?
Yeah. What happened to, I said FAA because I'm a pilot, but I meant FCC.
I knew what he meant. He's my brother. I knew what he meant.
What's happened to the FCC allowing these lyrics to be spewed over our airwaves at free will?
Well, I would like to know the answer to that, because the conservative radio program has to really watch what they say.
Exactly.
When Diamond and Silk are on Afternoon Drive Home, something always happens. Something always glitches. And Ann Eubank's going to be on the show tomorrow at 1 o'clock. So I can imagine what's going to happen. We're going to start getting some issues from Facebook.
Yeah. Well, they'll have issues with Christians, but then they let this stuff just fly by and just they're not even saying anything about it. It's just it's just hypocrisy to me. There's another one. I Say So is the name of the song. I knew that this was doomed from the get-go. You thought that it was special, but it was just the sex, though. It's glorifying sex.
You know what my grandmother would say about that? I thought it was doomed from the start. My grandmother would have said, well, then why did you go through with it? Why did you waste your life? People are wasting their life going through things that are just not good. It's going to be a disaster.
Glorifying relationships that they shouldn't be in. And I get it. If you're in a relationship that is a dead end, it's hard. I get that. I do. But listening to a song about it doesn't help.
It just makes it worse. I mean, it's good. And this is another thing. Attorney Marcy Foster, you've heard me talk about her. Right. She's been a sponsor of mine for years, about 5 years now. And so she's a divorce attorney, but what she tries to do is have workshops. And these are funded if you're under a certain income, whatever, well then it's free to go to these workshops. And so what she tries to do is go the other way. Now she's taking some flack from some other attorneys who are making a killing off of people getting divorces. So her whole idea is to have a workshop, don't say stupid things you're going to regret later, and don't argue in front of the kids. That she's a huge advocate for that. That's an attorney I actually like right there. So, but what you're seeing is, and I'm hearing all of this, all the words that are in these songs, and it's going through a young person's mind, and they're breakable already because they're young, they haven't experienced anything yet.
Yeah, and again, you know, we've got to double check what we're listening to, what our kids are listening to, because a lot of the stuff does not glorify God. It does not, and not only in the secular. I mean, not only in the pop in the country, but I've heard stuff in churches that is sung as a gospel song, and there's no gospel in it. It's an inspirational song, but an inspirational song is not a gospel song. It's like the difference between a preacher and a motivational speaker. There's a difference.
I get where you're coming from there.
You know, there's a difference.
Because I've been in churches before where I thought, if I just been to like a motivational speaking
exactly.
for my career,
exactly.
And that's how you feel sometimes.
Absolutely. And so some of the songs that are used in praise and worship are more of an inspirational type, and they're not true praise and worship. And so it's not just out in secular music, but we've got to, I think, we've got to pay attention to what we're allowing in our churches as well. And we've got to, and some of the things that, let me give you some guidelines that I pulled off I was looking on the internet. First of all, too, let me say this. The reason I think that we have to be careful about music is because Lucifer was created for the angel of music. He was actually in charge of the praise and worship in heaven.
He's the original choir director.
He was the original choir director in heaven. And
my grandmother used to say my granddad was a choir director. She would say Lucifer got his start as a choir director.
That's right. And he was thrown out of heaven because of the scripture says that he said, I will exalt my throne above the Most High God. And for us as entertainers, and I use that word termly. I don't like the word entertainers for gospel singers, because for Frankie and I, and for Point of Honor, it's more of a ministry. I don't think I really don't think the word performance should ever be used in a church setting, because it's not about a performance, it's about ministry. You know, praise and worship is a ministry, it's not a performance. It shouldn't be a performance. Preaching is not a performance, it's a ministry. And performance, when it's in a church, I don't like the word performance. It should be ministry based.
What do you think about dance teams? You know, a lot of churches have dance teams.
Oh, I do, and I'm kind of on the fence about it. There's some that interpretive dance that I thought was good, and some that I like.
Yeah, a little bit.
You know, so
are we at a church?
You know,
I think a couple.
And I get we can't just sit back and listen and just and just hum and meditate on God. All I realize that we've got to live. We're human, and I get that. But it goes back to the fact of being mature about our relationship with Christ, and not letting the things taint that relationship that would cause us a division with Christ. And I'm talking about a relationship, not a spiritual, not a salvation. The gift of salvation is there, but it's just those things, the weights that would just drag us down and to separate us a little bit from God. When He could, when we can just make a few changes in our life, and first of all make us feel better, and also get us a little closer to the Lord as well. Some of the guidelines that we should, I think that we need to, I wanted to read a couple of things here. Some of the things that the Bible talks about when we become a Christian, It says that that old things are passed away, and all things become new. And it talks about us singing a new song. We don't sing the same old songs. We've got a new song that we can sing. And when we get saved and we still go sing the honky tonk songs, then I think that sometimes there are people like, I thought you got saved. You know?
I've said that to people. I thought you were. What happened?
Yeah. And
it's not like I was putting them down or anything. I was just like, well, I'm a little confused. I thought.
right.
You know,
Exactly.
because I'm simple, you know.
Well, simple's good. Simple's good. I was trying to find my. I've got a list of things that you can. There we go. When it comes to secular music, most important things to consider are song lyrics and the artist's lifestyle. If you have a hard time, if you don't hear the lyrics, look at the lifestyle of the artist. That'll tell you a whole lot about maybe the songs that they're leaning to perform and to sing.
You can tell by the appearance.
Exactly. Buying or listening to a person's music supports that lifestyle. Regardless, if you purchase music and they're living an ungodly lifestyle, then you are supporting that lifestyle, plain and simple. And Christians who buy music from artists who live a flagrantly non-Christian lifestyle are, one could argue, establishing or enabling that lifestyle. It's a good idea for Christians to keep to artists who live, if not a devoted lifestyle, at least one that does not openly be offensive in God's eyes. You know, there are people out there that are not, they don't claim to be Christians, but they're living a good moral life. Morally, they're okay, but spiritually, they may be lacking.
Well, kind of like Pat Boone, you know.
Yeah.
Songs like April Love. I'm going back to the 1950s. My parents had all those songs on 45s. Clean lifestyle.
Sure.
I've never heard anything bad about the guy.
Right. You know, Don Williams, I don't know his spiritual condition. He may be a Christian, I don't know, but I never saw anything in the news or the tabloids or anything about Don Williams that I know of. You know, so there's artists out there that's got, you know, clean music, and they've got somewhat a clean lifestyle, and then there's those out there that is just
Well,
trash.
and you can check out their kids too, like Davy Boone.
Yeah.
You know, You Light Up My Life. Well, you know, was his daughter. And
Right.
And then you get like the Cyruses. You know, Bill. Cyrus.
Woo!
I'd whip that girl if I was him. Somebody needs to whip him though.
Some of the things that we've got to look at when we're dealing with songs and secular songs and things, in the lyrics, what are they glorifying? What's the attention of the song? You know, a lot of times we get caught up in the beat of a song or the music of a song, and and a lot of times we don't pay attention to the words per se. But I think we need to.
You know, I know what you're talking about. In the 70s, there would be songs you know, the beat was just that. And then later in life, you actually look at the words and it's like, did I listen to that?
Right.
You know, I mean, I found myself going back singing those words.
Some of the songs that are out there now, if we really pay attention to the lyrics, the songs are promoting drugs, they're rebellion, sex, and all sorts of
Killing. I mean, there are songs out there that tell you to murder somebody.
Cops. There a lot of the rappers are using songs to. You know, it just that's advocating killing cops and things and stuff like that. It's ridiculous. And one thing too that I found out that some artists have been known to use foreign language to sneak in a passage or censor to pass through the censorship. And use explicit formats. The Spanish song Decapito, I think is what it's pronounced, was a perfect example for this. They said the song became widely popular among English-speaking for the romantic sound of the Spanish lyrics and soothe salsa inspirational instrumental. The lyrics, however, are practically pornographic. At nature. Not something a Christian parent wants their children listening to or singing. And so that's some of the things, if when you're listening to songs in their different language, might need to check up what they're singing about. You know, a lot of times we'll go to a thrift store or something like that, and we'll find Chinese art, and it'll have Chinese writing on it. And I've often wondered, what's that saying?
Yeah. I've wondered about those things too.
You know, and I don't know Chinese, so I wonder, what is this? Is this a prayer to Buddha that I'm letting into my house? You know, things like I don't know.
That's right. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah.
I always wondered about interpreters anyway.
Sure.
You know, when we have some of our elected officials and they're in another country and an interpreter is talking to their people, are they actually interpreting what the person was saying? You have to wonder about.
I wonder if there's a license to be an interpreter. If you have to qualify, you know, like a notary public or something. I don't know.
Should be.
But Alan, this is Frankie. When she talked to me earlier in the week about coming on the show, she wanted me to bring something about home maintenance and talk about, you know, home maintenance and stuff. And
You can do that in another show. We'd like that too.
Yeah, and I got to thinking about it, and I really wanted to bring this out because of the new year and people making New Year resolutions and stuff. And what better resolution or what better choice that we can make to have a deeper relationship with the Lord is let's get rid of some of these weights in our life that keep us bound down and keep us from achieving the things that are a position where God wants us in that with Him. And since I gave up secular music, I haven't missed it a bit.
So when did you give it up? And I had Frankie singing secular music here one night. Yeah. Sorry about it. It wasn't anything bad.
No.
It was a Christmas Karen Carpenter song.
You know, and again, I don't claim it as like sin. I don't think that all secular music is sin. We just got to be sure that we don't promote sin in the songs that we're listening to.
My grandmother said, "Be careful what goes in that head."
Yeah, what goes in, and you know, they say what goes in comes out, and at some point, especially with kids that we're raising, that is true. Kids listen to stuff, and it's before long it'll start coming out.
So how do we change all of this? There's a whole world out there.
You don't try to change the world, change yourself. If we try to, the old saying is, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And we just gotta, I think if we focus on ourselves and share what God's done in our life, and that's what I'm doing tonight, and sharing His conviction over me for listening to secular music. He convicted me back in probably probably around 1989, something like that. And again, this is not something that if I'm going through the grocery store and secular music playing, I don't care. I don't go through. I don't go through with my hands over my ears and stuff like that. If I'm riding with somebody in the car and they got a secular music playing, okay. I'm not trying to implement or force my ideas or my opinions or my weights on somebody else, but I'm just trying to bring to the table a legitimate discussion about should we be really listening to this stuff that promotes ungodly behavior.
Well, Ronny, let's talk to. We have about 5 minutes left in this segment, so let's talk to young folks because I've been a mother before. I was afraid I'd break it. I mean, what am I going to do to it? And I'm sorry, kids just don't come with instruction manuals. They just don't. So how can we start at an early age with young moms and young dads? It's up to us.
Yeah. There was a parent that I met that, let's see if I can paraphrase this story. There was an event that was fixing to take place where the son was fixing to get in trouble, and the parent was notified of what was fixing to happen. I think it was going to be a school fight that was going on. Somebody had ruffled his feathers, and I don't know the whole story behind it. I just heard that there was going to be a fight, and they were going to meet, and there was going to be this big fight between two different rival schools. And the parent, the dad, heard about it. He was notified of it, and he immediately picked the phone up and he called, and all he said was, "Get home now." And he hung up. And I thought about that over the years, And he made a statement later on. The parent made a statement to me later on. He said, I'm not here to be his friend. He said, I'm here to be his parent. He said, after I've parented him and taught him right from wrong, we can be friends when he's grown and he's an adult and he has his own
And you can.
house.
When they're 40, you can
Yeah.
be friends.
Then you can be friends because you've already blazed the trail and you set parameters. Train up a child in the way they should walk is what the Bible tells us to do. And if we do that early on, you can't start when they're 14.
Too late.
You got to start when they're 1. You got to start when they're in diapers. And you got to set parameters. And I've always heard, say what you mean and mean what you say.
And you just say it once.
Yeah. My daddy never begged me to do nothing.
Nope.
Never begged me to do nothing. He told me to do it, and he might tell me the second time, but the third time come with a little swat on the hind end. What a big swat on the hind end.
Well, I'm going to tell you, there's a woman, this woman was my hero. And she was a young black lady, young black mom, and her son thought he was going to get in with the thugs. Did you see this? It was on the world news.
I don't know.
Oh, I'll find it for you and I'll send it to you.
Maybe I did.
Oh, this woman was awesome. So she goes out there and gets him and he's a big old boy too. He's actually taller than she is, about 14, something like that. She meant he wasn't going to have that kind of a life. And she got him in front of the cameras and everything else and started whipping him.
I remember
And
that.
he was so embarrassed. And all I could say was, thumbs up.
Thumbs
That
up,
mom
Mom.
is
That's right.
a hero.
That's right.
She was a hero. And she just didn't want, they were in the projects and she didn't want him to turn out that way.
Mm-hmm.
And well, she let him have it.
Frankie and I have got some step grandkids that we've helped raise over the years. And years ago, we went to Orange Beach, and we was in the stores at the outlet stores down there. And one of the toddlers that was with us, I'm not sure how old she was. She was probably 4, 5, 6 years old, something like that. We was in there shopping and everything. We got back to the condo. We was fixing to go down and swim. And she come out and she had went through all the dresses in that dress shop and pulled off the buttons, the extra buttons out of those dresses.
Yeah.
And she had 2 pockets full of buttons that she took out of those dresses when we got back to the condo. From Orange Beach to Foley. We was up to Foley. Frankie come in, brought her in there, and she said, "Look." And she pulled out 2 pockets full of buttons. I mean, just a handful of buttons. And I sat there, and it would have been real easy to say, "You shouldn't have done that. Now let's go swim." It'd been easy because they're extra buttons, But I felt like that we had to set a precedence. This wasn't yours. You stole this. It don't matter if it was a nickel. It don't matter if it was a penny. It's not yours. And I said, load back up in the van. I said, we're going back to Foley. And we took them back to Foley, and I marched her all the way up to the manager. And I said, you tell her what you did. And I forced her to tell the manager what she did and face what she had done. And then after she done it, after she did what we required her to do, then we sat down and I talked to her about what was the right thing to do. And you don't go stealing stuff. You don't bother stuff. And so that's part of parenting.
And I'm sure that stayed with her the rest of her life.
I hope. I hope. Because so many times we let things go instead of...
I'm tired. I've been working all day.
And another thing...
Next time I'll take it.
Another thing, too, is not letting children do things. I'll just do it. Go on. You take too long. Kids today don't learn until they do stuff. And sometimes we as parents, I think, have to sit down. No matter if it's going to take them 3 hours to accomplish one task, we've got to let them do it. Because you can't train a child to do something if you don't ever let them do it.
I agree. Totally. We're going to have to call it a day.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Ronny, for being on the show.
Thank y'all for having me.
Frankie look-alike is why he's trying to be here.
No, I can't achieve that beauty.
No, you can't do that. You can't. It's great. It's great talking to you, though, Ronny. It was a good show.
I hope so.
Really
I hope
was.
I hope that, and again, let me say real quick, I challenge everybody to do without secular music for 1 week. Do without it, and just listen to gospel, whether it be praise and worship, whether it be Southern gospel, country gospel.
Your CD, Living on the Edge.
Your CD, Living on the Edge. Point of Honor gospel.
There you go.
Listen to gospel for a week. and honestly sit back and evaluate how your week has gone and how you were able to interact with things that come up in the week, and then truly assess, has country music or has secular music affected your life, and let the Lord witness to it.
Will do. And I'll report to you next week. Thank you so much for watching Living on the Edge with Donna and Frankie. Frankie missed you on the show today,
Yeah, she said
but
don't
she'll
say
be back. Now, actually, next week it's going to be Living on the Edge with Donna and Frankie, and Donna's going to be on the other side over there. Because I believe Belinda Miracle's going to be on the show with us next week. Is that right? You are going to really enjoy this. This lady has lived for she should have passed away a long time ago, and she has been back and forth from death several times. So we're going to be talking with her, and she has her own business where she actually makes these. She was not creative, and let me tell you a little bit about her. Belinda worked in the corporate world, and she was on her home. Great job, lots of pay, but not a fun life. And so she was on her way home one day, had an accident, and was in a coma for a long time, and comes out of the coma being artistic, had never done anything like this in her entire life.
Wow.
Isn't that something? So we're going to talk with her about that next
That's
week. So you guys, we'll be talking to you later. Have a great week.
Trusting in His promise, soon I will be